This is Alex Mikulchuk, and this is my first video essay for the Biology 557 course about the Feyerabend reading. Um, and so for the first question, what is Feyerabend trying to accomplish with this piece? I mean, I think obviously Feyerabend is really concerned with how scientific information is presented and interpreted and interacted with in general. And it seems like he's trying to sort of present his vision for what would be potentially a better system or a better approach to it. Um, do I agree with his premise? I would say partially. I mean, I do agree that there are some issues with science communication that are pretty major. I don't know if I really agree with his approach very much. Um, I do think it's valuable to think about the way that scientific information is presented. But I think at the very least, specifically in the US, the primary issue is really a lack of scientific literacy and education among the public. I think that, um, yes, we could improve on the ways that scientific information is presented to the public, but it's really difficult, and I think in some cases impossible to really change the approach or presentation or boil down the information much more without losing some of the meaning um, if the public is ill-equipped to understand some of these concepts in the first place. So I would just say, in my opinion, I think that really it would be the issues with science communication would be primarily addressed through public education and improvement in the scientific literacy of the public to make it easier to understand the information that is presented in a lot of these cases. Um, as for is the scientific process being presented to the public? I mean, again, I would say that I think that most scientific articles, most presentations, at least strive to be pretty transparent and clear about their process. I don't think that there's anybody necessarily like hiding the process or trying to obscure it, but I do understand that it's a bit complicated for a lot of members of the public to understand and wrap their head around without kind of being introduced to the subject in a simpler way and having that in mind for when they're analyzing some kind of scientific information. Um, so I do agree here. I do think that the scientific process should be presented better to the public. I think that there should be more general awareness of the scientific process. And I think that that would help keep from leading people astray in some of these cases and helping them actually clarify what conclusions they can draw and what certain data means and what it doesn't mean. Um, in terms of what's good about current public science presentations and what should be changed, I mean, I do think that there's a lot of good about current public science presentations. I think a lot of them are really informative. I just think, unfortunately, the people that draw the most benefit from them, that can learn the most from them, are people with a background of some sort in science that can interpret some of this information without having certain parts explained, or already having the context and the knowledge to interpret and analyze this information. Um, I do think that there's some things that could be changed with scientific presentations, but it would be pretty difficult to, I don't know, let's say demand that for every scientific presentation there be an in-depth explanation of the scientific process and how hypotheses are tested and sort of all of these basic elements that you kind of need to already have in mind to really be able to analyze and understand the kind of science that's being presented in one of those presentations. So, although I do think some improvements could be made, I think, again, primarily, really, the public should just have a better tool set for understanding some of this stuff. So, I guess that's primarily where I disagree with Feyerabend. I do think he brings up a lot of valuable points. I do think that there's a lot of stuff that he mentions that's worth keeping in mind. Um, but yeah, I would just take sort of a different approach, and I think we stand to benefit more from addressing the audience side of the issue as opposed to the presenter side of the issue.